Chapter 1361. Hearing Benjamin's explanation, Tim understood to some extent that the base resembled a school. Right, he nodded in determination, deciding to study hard. Jasper turned to Benjamin and asked, "Can I learn how to shoot there?" Benjamin nodded. Sure. Jasper's heart raced in excitement. I'll go. That was so much more interesting than his current school. Within the base, similar to schools outside, they adhere to designated learning periods. In addition to the standard curriculum, you have the opportunity to explore any subject that piques your interest. Benjamin briefed them about the situation at the base, but he didn't mention anything about the physical training. It certainly sounded appealing, at the very least more engaging than their present schooling situation. Tim, Zachary, Oliver, and Jasper all began to look forward to the new place. They had never been there before, and they were filled with curiosity about the place. Jessie was left feeling listless. Before understanding the situation, she was confused and clueless. After understanding, she realized she was just moving to a different place to study. However, the mention of further studying extinguished any remaining enthusiasm within Jessie. Jessie. Benjamin walked up to Jessie, his large hand gently ruffling her hair. Jessie looked up at him, deliberately pouting as she asked, "What's up?" Benjamin raised an eyebrow as he asked softly, "Do you not like the base?" Jessie fluttered her long eyelashes and replied in a low voice, "I don't like it." Benjamin wasn't at all surprised at her answer. He continued to ask, "Why? All the boys are going. That's them, and I don't like it. Simply put, it's just changing schools." Jessie pouted, showing great resistance. "I'm not forcing you to be a top scholar, but at the very least, you should understand the basics. You don't want to be a fool, do you?" Jessie nodded. "I'm certainly not a fool." With a smile, Benjamin affectionately ruffled her hair. If his daughter didn't like studying, he couldn't force her. The base also offers activities aligned with your interests. When the moment arrives, I'll accompany you there. If you're still unable to discover something to your liking, we'll have a more in-depth conversation, okay? If you genuinely don't like the place, I won't force you. Benjamin recognized Jess's reluctance to be apart from her brothers. He held confidence that if all 5 of them were present and her preferred subjects were available, she would undoubtedly warm up to the idea of being there as well. After some thought, Jessie felt it was acceptable. She finally flashed a smile. Okay. Gavin was also pleased as his only wish was for his sister to be happy. He was no longer worried whether she would choose to stay with them there. Mr. Graham's decision isn't bad at all. If you end up not liking it there, you can always stay at home with Mommy. Jasper was also happy for Jessie. Jess's eyes lit up as she nodded. I'll stay home with Mommy. You guys can study diligently there. Oliver let out a chuckle and playfully prodded, Are you absolutely certain you won't change your mind? We might not be back home for quite a while. You might end up missing us and longing to see our faces. Jessie pouted and blinked a few times. Didn't Mr. Graham say we should wait until we're a bit older to go? We'll wait until the holidays to go. I can stay with you at the base during the holidays. A few years later, I can stay at home and help Mommy take care of our little siblings. Isn't that great? If you miss me, I can video call you in the evening. Zachary and Tim chuckled at her innocent thoughts. It's okay, Jessie. If you don't like it there, just come home. Gavin was protective of Jessie, not wanting to force her too much. Her happiness was more important than anything else. Benjamin glanced at Zachary and reminded him, You have some time to get used to it. Who knows, Jessie might change her mind by then. Jessie glanced at Benjamin, contradicting him in her heart. She wouldn't change, not at all. However, once she arrived at the base, she played even more wildly than her brothers, showing no signs of wanting to head home. Many years later, Benjamin would find it difficult to even see his daughter, regretting his decision to send her to the base with her brothers. Chapter 1362. Go take a shower. After discussing the matter with the children, Benjamin waved his hand, indicating that they could leave. The children glanced at him, then turned and ran off, leaving Benjamin taken aback by their speed. Seeing his grandchildren running out, Darius quickly called them over so they could get some rest. Gavin, Tim, Zachary, Oliver, Jasper, Jesse, come over here and have some juice with me. Grandpa. The children's soft and tender voices brought a sense of comfort and ease to Darius's heart and soul. Great-grandaunt, Mr. Whitley, are you still up at this hour? The children settled down around them, their faces beaming with smiles that showed no hint of the recent punishment they had received. Not yet. You're all still up too, right? Edwin teased the children with a smile. Gavin and the children chuckled sheepishly. We were sent to stand in the corner as punishment. Otherwise, we would have showered and be off to bed by now. Darius and Mary shared a laugh, their gazes fondly fixed on the children. Both of them bent over to pour juice for the children. Come, have some juice. Are you tired? Darius asked lovingly, his affectionate gaze moving gently over his grandchildren. The 6 children shook their heads as they sipped their juice. Jessie even had juice stains at the corners of her mouth, looking adorably cute. Grandpa, we're not tired. Zachary shouted in response, flashing a smile at Darius. Darius chuckled and nodded. That's good, from now on you must listen to your mommy and daddy. This way, you can avoid getting punished. Don't engage in dangerous activities. Gavin and the others glanced at Darius. They didn't voice their complaints and obediently nodded. Grandpa, are Mr. Bailey and the others not back yet? Oliver looked around but didn't see Sean and the rest. He wondered if they had yet to finish their run. Could it be that they haven't finished running yet? Jasper's eyes sparkled excitedly. Darius chuckled softly. He hasn't come back yet, so he's most likely still in the middle of his run. Otherwise, he would have returned by now. Grandpa, do you have any idea where he and the others are? Jessie blinked her eyes innocently, her endearing demeanor causing Darius to chuckle, his eyes crinkling at the corners. Darius lifted Jessie onto his lap, affectionately stroking her hair. He said kindly, on the road outside. Jessie, do you want to go see them? Gavin inquired, leaning over to peer at her. Jessie stuck out her tongue as she glanced at the rest. Don't you guys want to go see them? The 6 children glanced at each other, then extended an invitation to Darius as well. Grandpa, let's go outside and watch Mr. Bailey and the others run. We can cheer them on while we're at it. As they couldn't sit still and wanted to go out and play, Darius agreed readily. Okay, Grandpa will go with you. Come with us. Darius invited Edwin and Mary. He couldn't sleep even if he were to go to bed now, so he might as well go watch the younger ones run. Edwin and Mary went after them, accompanying them for a stroll. Orissa was upstairs when she heard the laughter and playful noises of children coming from below. Intrigued, she glanced toward the balcony. Are the children done with their punishment? Are they heading out? Despite her strong desire to venture outside and witness things firsthand, she exercised self-restraint, lying obediently in bed with a book. Yet, her focus continuously veered outside, rendering it difficult for her to concentrate on her reading. After being done with their punishment, they didn't come upstairs to keep her company. At this thought, a hint of disappointment crept into Orissa's heart. Orissa sighed. She picked up her phone, intending to browse. Threw it when an unexpected call came in. Unsure of who it was, she hesitated before answering the call. Isa. Upon hearing that familiar voice, Orissa paused for a split second before hanging up the phone immediately. Unexpectedly, the phone rang again, and it was the same number. Orissa gritted her teeth. Answering the call, she asked indifferently, "What exactly do you want to do?" Chapter 1363. Isa, can you stop being so brusque with me every time we talk? Do calling you always have to mean there's something urgent? Can't it just be because I care about you? Regan felt a pang of sadness, unsure of how much of it was genuine. Orissa didn't want to delve into it. She retorted sarcastically, "Where were you when I needed you to care? Isn't it too late for you to care about me now?" Regan's face turned beet red. Not wanting to upset Orissa, he asked with a touch of tenderness, "Are you feeling much better now?" "Regan, I've told you, I don't need your concern, and you don't have to force yourself to act as a benevolent father. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up." Orissa didn't want to engage in small talk with him. Their relationship wasn't that close. She refused to believe Regan's attitude toward her had changed so drastically without any ulterior motives. Regan choked a bit, then stammered, "I'm genuinely worried about you." "Are you still in the hospital?" "I'm home," Orissa responded indifferently. It was not because she wanted Regan to stop worrying, but because she didn't want to hear him keep asking. It wasn't very pleasant for her to chat with him for long. "That's good. Make sure you rest well. Eat more supplements. I'll call you again next time. Don't block me again," Regan advised before he hung up the phone. Orissa stared at her phone, finding Regan's actions quite peculiar. Was he really just concerned about me, or did he have some ulterior motive? She scoffed. If Regan had a conscience, he would have realized it long ago. Why would he wait until now? She still remembered that rainy day 5 years ago when they had driven her out of the house. She was left with nowhere to go and had almost died at their hands. Whenever Orissa thought of those unpleasant memories, a surge of hatred would well up in her eyes. It wasn't until her cell phone rang that she was pulled back from her memories, answering the call without even checking the caller's name. "Hello, what's wrong?" A voice filled with concern reached her ears, instantly lighting up the depths of her heart. "It's nothing," Orissa composed herself, not wanting Benjamin to worry too much about her. "What's the matter? You sound down. Did the kids upset you again?" Benjamin didn't believe her perfunctory response. She was the type who wouldn't tell anyone what was wrong unless asked. Orissa chuckled lightly. "No, I just received a call from Regan, which reminded me of some unpleasant memories." Benjamin remained silent for a while, refraining from asking what the unpleasant matter was, not wanting her to revisit it again. "It seems he has plenty of free time. Since he ignored my words, I guess I'll teach him a lesson." "Thank you, dear, but I want to handle this myself." Orissa was clear about dealing with the York family ever since she returned to the country. After a while, she didn't hear Benjamin's voice anymore. She glanced at her phone and saw that he had hung up. Orissa sighed, leaning against the head of the bed as her thoughts uncontrollably drifted toward Regan. She was curious about what his true intentions could be. When Benjamin entered, he saw her deep in thought. He sat down next to her and gently touched her face. Orissa regained her senses and met his caring gaze, feeling a warmth in her heart. She laughed and said, "I was wondering why you suddenly hung up the phone. Have you finished what you were doing? You matter more." Benjamin looked at her steadily, his face serious. Orissa's heart skipped a beat as she smiled sweetly. "It's just a minor issue. Don't worry about it." Benjamin nodded and gently stroked her head, exuding an aura of dominance. "I can't believe Regan dares to bother you again. He seems to enjoy making things difficult for you. I'll go to York Group tomorrow. If I don't teach him a lesson, he'll think you're easy to bully and that you have no one to back you up." Orissa was deeply moved. Upon seeing Benjamin's angry face, she didn't refuse anymore. "Sure, go ahead." She smiled at Benjamin. Benjamin was taken aback, thinking she didn't want his help. He gently pinched her cheek. "I thought you were going to say, 'Let me do it myself,' again." Orissa smiled and said, "I prefer to take matters into my own hands because it feels more satisfying to get revenge on my enemies. However, I wouldn't mind if someone helped me, especially if that person is my husband. I'll enjoy teaching them a lesson for you." Benjamin lifted her chin, his eyes twinkling with amusement. Chapter 1364. Feeling better? Benjamin asked, his forehead pressed against hers, brimming with concern. Orissa was touched. She could genuinely feel the concern from Benjamin, unlike the so-called concern from Regan. Even if every word and sentence from Regan was filled with worry, she didn't feel it at all. The difference between sincerity and insincerity was quite clear. She nodded, but he held her forehead so she couldn't move, and she laughed softly. Benjamin kissed her on the nose and on the lips. Orissa also reciprocated his affection, merely pecking the corner of his mouth lightly, which in turn elicited an even more passionate kiss from Benjamin. A few minutes later, Benjamin finally let her go. His burning gaze fixed on her shy demeanor as he felt an immense satisfaction deep within his heart. Orissa met his fiery gaze. Her eyes flickered away for a moment, and she gently pushed him away with her hand. I'm fine now. You can go on with your work. Benjamin held her hand, playfully toying with her fingers. The kids didn't come up to keep you company. When he had just arrived, he didn't see the children and had no idea where they had run off. Upstairs was also quiet. They should be over by the garden. Orissa stared at Benjamin, hearing the distant voices of children before she picked up the phone earlier. Benjamin arched an eyebrow, already knowing where the children had run off to. He said to her, "They've probably gone to watch Sean and the others jogging. Dad and the others aren't downstairs either, so they've likely gone to join the fun." Orissa glanced at Benjamin and deliberately let out a light sigh. "If only I weren't confined to lying down. I would have loved to go out with them." Benjamin chuckled, pinched her nose, and asked, "Do you still want to go out?" By then, Ethan and his group should have almost finished their run. Orissa chuckled a few times. She wasn't asleep yet and was always looking for something to do. "They must have finished jogging," Benjamin told her while pulling up the surveillance footage. Sure enough, not far from the main gate, Ethan and Sean were sprawled out on the road while Jack stood to one side. Only Bradley was left, but he wasn't running anymore. People walking were faster than him. At that moment, Bradley was exhausted and drenched in sweat. He was struggling to move and panting heavily. "How awful," Orissa exclaimed, peering at the state Bradley was in. Benjamin glanced at her, scoffing lightly, feeling sorry for him. "Are you?" Orissa laughed. "No, it's just that I can feel his exhaustion just by looking at him." They secretly took the kids to beat someone up. As such, they certainly deserve some punishment for this. Jack's physical abilities are so impressive. I couldn't even tell he had run 30 kilometers. Orissa stared at Jack's upright military posture, full of admiration. He trains all year round, so, naturally, his physical fitness is better than others. Otherwise, all those years he spent at the base would be in vain. Benjamin was not surprised as he was quite familiar with Jack's situation. It's only 30 kilometers, yet Ethan and Sean are already exhausted. Looks like I'll need to ramp up their physical training in the future. When Orissa heard that, the edges of her mouth twitched. Deep down, she felt a surge of sympathy for Sean and Ethan. In the surveillance footage, she saw the children, Darius, Mary, and Edwin standing by the roadside, waiting for Bradley to finish. There was no sound, so Orissa couldn't tell what they were saying, but it was clear that the children were very excited. Even though those little brats just finished their punishment, they looked so happy. She couldn't help but remark. Benjamin chuckled lightly. "It shows that the kids are in a good mood. Surely, you don't want them to be all downcast, do you? If they're unhappy, you'd be upset too." Orissa glanced at him and stubbornly retorted, "You just never seen me punish them before." "I won't be upset." She would consider herself lucky if she wasn't completely riled up whenever the children acted mischievously. When she became angry, the punishments she dished out naturally became more severe. "There will be opportunities in the future," Benjamin said with a smile, going along with her. Orissa pursed her lips, speechless. Is he starting to get his hopes up? Chapter 1365. Gavin, Tim, Zachary, Oliver, Jasper, and Jesse burst into laughter as they stood at the doorway. Jasper said, "Look at you, Mr. Bailey. You're not fit enough. Even I can run faster than you." Sean was dumbfounded when he heard what Jasper said. However, his breathing was ragged as he lay on the ground, and he had no strength to retort. Meanwhile, Jack cackled and eyed them with contempt. "Look at how foolish you all look. You've been slacking off on your training, and now you can't even keep up." Ethan gritted his teeth and glared at him, panting as he clapped back, "You train all day, yet you're still not much faster than us. You guys are all fit. I really can't do this anymore." Having finally completed his run, Bradley leaned both hands against the wall, panting like a dog. Oliver turned to him with a grin and teased, "Mr. Hinton, a real man should never say that." Darius and Edwin, who were standing off to one side, chuckled. Gripping his cane firmly, Darius said in a voice full of vigor, "You young folks don't exercise enough. You should train more often. Don't wait. You won't be able to do so anymore in a few years." After finally catching his breath, Sean immediately retorted, Old Mr. Graham, this is a punishment. I had to carry a hefty load for 30 kilometers. If I didn't have to carry that, I could have covered 30 kilometers without any problem. You should admit you just can't cut it. I can run more steadily than any of you, Darius replied, a smile playing on his lips. You're something else, old Mr. Graham, Sean responded, flattering the older man with a forced laugh. He dared not argue with the latter. Gavin, Tim, and Zachary were practically doubled over with laughter, and they watched the scene with glee. You'll feel better if you quickly drink some water, Jesse said to Ethan, Sean, and Bradley. The little girl was noticeably more thoughtful than her older brothers. I'll go get you all some water, Mary piped up with a laugh when she saw how exhausted they were, sprawled on the ground without the strength to walk. However, Darius stopped her. He looked at the young men with disdain, thinking they were too weak. No need for that. Lads, it's a disgrace if you can't even handle this much. Ethan, Sean, and Bradley were silent. Madam Mary, we'll just rest for a bit before going in for a drink. After a pause, Bradley raised his hand to stop her, then wiped the sweat off his brow. His legs were still shaking. Zachary's eyes gleamed mischievously as he looked at Bradley with a grin. Are you feeling okay, Mr. Hinton? Your legs are shaking as though you have Parkinson's disease. Everyone immediately shifted their gazes to Bradley's legs, and he gave an awkward laugh. Trying to salvage a shred of dignity, he answered, I'm just shaking my legs to relax my muscles. The children did not buy his explanation at all and sniggered. Sean, Ethan, and Jack also howled with laughter. I can't believe there's someone even weaker than us. Didn't you say you've been training with Mrs. Graham? Ethan teased Bradley in amusement. Our training is nowhere near as intense as yours. Bradley complained. Even the special forces don't go this hard. Ethan and Sean were in stitches. Clutching at their stomachs, they did not dare to laugh any further. Once they had rested enough, everyone headed toward the house with the young men carrying the 6 children. Their laughter echoed through the air. Ethan carried Gavin and Tim, Jack had Zachary and Oliver, Sean let Jasper ride on his shoulder, and Bradley carried Jesse. They laughed and fooled around all the way. Meanwhile, Darius, Edwin, and Mary were beaming as they followed behind them, reluctant to take their eyes off the children. Hurry up, Mr. Bailey, giddy up. Jasper did not hold back at all. Sitting on Sean's shoulders, the boy kicked his little legs and held onto Sean's head with both hands, treating the latter as though he was a real horse. Jessie giggled as she watched them. That's so fun. I can also let you ride a horse, Bradley said with a chuckle. As he spoke, he hoisted the little girl onto his shoulders and broke into a jog, sending her into fits of laughter. Q Chapter 1366. Upon seeing that, Ethan and Jack refused to be outdone. They also followed suit, letting the little ones sit on their shoulders, one on each side. Hold on tight, kids. We're going to run back, they said to the children. Then, with one arm around each kid's legs, they sprinted forward. Go, go, go. Faster. Mr. Frank is about to overtake us. We're about to lose. You can do it. Perched on the men's shoulders, the kids were brimming with excitement. They swung their legs back and forth, shouting with joy. The next second, they were all racing each other to see who would be the first to reach the house. The atmosphere was lively and playful. Darius, Edwin, and Mary followed behind, smiling from ear to ear. Even Arissa, who was up in the bedroom, could clearly hear the children's laughter and the sound of them having fun. Are the children back? She craned her neck to look toward the balcony curiously, even though she could not see anything. The sight of how impatient she was made him chuckle. I'll go take a look. She turned back to him, then followed him with her gaze as he moved toward the balcony. She could not help pouting and grumbling inwardly that he did not carry her over there. Glancing down and seeing that Sean and the others were heading back with the children, Benjamin gave a small cough. The boisterous group downstairs looked up in his direction. Jasper waved at him excitedly and shouted, Mr. Graham. Benjamin lifted his chin slightly in acknowledgement, then called out to them, Your mommy misses you. Come on up. Hearing that, Arissa was both amused and exasperated. She murmured, When did I miss them? Meanwhile, The kids beamed at Benjamin's words and asked to be let down from the men's shoulders. Let's go upstairs and see Mommy. Mommy isn't mad at us anymore. Slow down, Sean cautioned them as he bent over to put down Jasper. Ethan, Jack, and Bradley also hurriedly set the others down, fearing they might struggle and fall. No sooner had they let go than the children slid down and ran toward the house. Meanwhile, Benjamin was met with a glare from Marissa when he walked back into the room. He went over with a smile and asked, "What's wrong?" "Nothing," she responded with a snort. He pinched her cheek and said with a little smugly, "I've called the kids to come up. You'll be able to see them soon." Seeing the look on his face that showed he was waiting for her to praise him, she was at a loss for words, and the corners of her mouth twitched. They were having fun. Why did you have to call them to come in? You could have just carried me to the balcony just now. He lifted his wrist and pointed at his watch for her to see. It's getting late. They should be coming up to rest now. At that moment, the kids ran upstairs and started shouting even before they reached the doorway. "Mommy, we're here, Mommy." Hearing the children's shouts, Marissa was overjoyed. It was a relief that they were not mad at her. "Mommy." The 6 little ones came bounding in, one after another, ready to run to her. Benjamin quickly stepped in front of them, cautioning, "Be careful not to bump into your mommy." The kids stuck out their tongues at him, then gently embraced Marissa. "Mommy, did you miss us?" She laughed and hugged them. "Of course. Where have you been?" "We went to watch Mr. Bailey and the others go running. Mr. Hinton was the weakest. He couldn't even outrun Mr. Bailey. Mr. Bailey couldn't take it either. He was lying on the ground for ages, catching his breath." The children started chattering away to Marissa. As she listened, she could see how excited they all were. Despite being drenched in sweat, they continued talking enthusiastically. "If I asked you to run like that, do you think you could do it?" she asked teasingly as she wiped them down. The kids' faces fell instantly. "Mommy, you're not still thinking of punishing us, are you?" asked Zachary. Chapter 1367. As long as you behave, there won't be any need for punishment. Marissa didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She wasn't addicted to punishing people after all. "Mommy, we promise to behave and always prioritize our safety," Zachary assured her sincerely. "Mommy is the best." Jasper rushed over to hug Marissa, planting a kiss on her face. Jesse and Oliver also scrambled over to kiss her. "Mommy, thank you, Mommy." Tim also leaned in and gave her a kiss on the cheek. The children's kisses left traces of saliva on Marissa's face. Holding them in her arms, she laughed and said, "That's enough." Seeing her nearly overwhelmed by the children, Benjamin quickly stepped in to pull the children away. "Stop bothering your mommy. Go take a shower now." Aware of Marissa's health concerns, the children held no ill feelings toward Benjamin. They joined Marissa, engaging in a pleasant conversation for some time before retiring to their own bedroom to take showers. "If you have tasks to attend to, feel free to proceed. I'm about to sleep," Marissa informed Benjamin as she lay down. Benjamin glanced at her. "Aren't you going to the bathroom?" Marissa shook her head, making herself comfortable. "I don't want to get up now. When I need to, I'll call you." Benjamin nodded, tucking her in before he left the bedroom. Downstairs, Sean, Ethan, Jack, and Bradley were casually chatting on the couch, while Edwin was in the kitchen preparing some supper for them. Having completed a 30-kilometer run with weights, they had essentially burned through their dinner. Consequently, their hunger had intensified considerably. Upon seeing Benjamin come down the stairs, they all turned their attention to him, greeting him warmly. "Mr. Graham." Benjamin glanced at them. Noticing their dispirited appearances, he let out a soft snort. "It's just 30 kilometers. Is that the extent of your capabilities?" The others fell silent. Sean laughed awkwardly, ignoring the contempt from Benjamin. "Benjamin, I work at the hospital all day. How can I compare with you?" Benjamin let out a chuckle as his gaze playfully scanned over them. "If you wish to avoid becoming the subject of Gavin and the children's jests, it's best to adhere to your morning physical training routine." "Yes, Mr. Graham, I will set a good example for the children in the future," Jack declared with full vigor and enthusiasm. Seated beside him, Sean found himself nearly deafened by the volume. He inserted his finger into his ear and grumbled, was it really necessary to yell so loudly? Ethan and Bradley exchanged amused glances, sharing a laugh at the situation. Even though they were seated a fair distance from Jack, his loud exclamation had managed to startle them as well, evoking their sense of empathy for Sean. Ethan glanced at Benjamin and responded, "Mr. Graham, I will exercise daily whenever I have time. If possible, I'll invite the children to join me." Benjamin was just about to discuss this matter with them. Therefore, he took this opportunity to talk about the future training tasks for the children. For daily training, Ethan and Sean are in charge. During the holidays, Jack will take over. Ethan harbored a sense of weariness that ran deep, yet he refrained from expressing his weariness aloud. Even with the challenges he faced, the prospect of sharing each day with the children brought him immense happiness. Sean had no problem with that as he was living here now. Taking care of the children's training tasks in the morning and evening was no problem for him. "Benjamin, how long do we have to be responsible for this? Don't tell me he wants me to keep on training the kids after I return to the hospital to work." Benjamin glanced at him. "Until they actually start studying at the base." Sean parted his lips and pressed on, "When will that be? Is Benjamin really willing to send the children to the base?" Did Arissa agree? "It depends on when they are able to get used to it." Benjamin couldn't give them the exact time. "They are still so young," Sean said reluctantly. "By their age, I had already been training at the base for several years." During Benjamin's childhood, Darius had taken him to the military base. He subjected him to training akin to that of his own soldiers, paying no heed to the fact that Benjamin was still a young child. Knowing that, Sean fell silent. Chapter 1368. After chatting with them for a while, Benjamin went to his study to work, leaving the others to relax in the living room. When Edwin was done preparing supper, Sean went over to the study door and called out to Benjamin. "Benjamin, would you like some supper?" While enjoying his paella, Sean glanced over at Benjamin. He had to admit that Edwin's seafood paella was delicious. Benjamin glanced up at Sean, the aroma of the paella wafting to his nose. "Paella?" he asked. "Yeah, Edwin's seafood paella is incredibly delicious," Sean said, taking a few more bites. Anyone who didn't know better would think he had missed dinner and had been starving for a while. "Are there any more left?" Benjamin asked again. Sean nodded. "Yes. If you're hungry, let me get you a plate." "No need." Benjamin called Arissa. "Let me ask if Arissa wants some." Sean shot a playful glance at Benjamin, a smile gracing his lips as he teased, "Weren't you the one who said Arissa was resting? She's sleeping, and yet you want to rouse her for a meal." Benjamin ignored him. He waited for a while before Arissa finally answered the phone. "What's up?" As her voice sounded groggy, Benjamin arched a brow and asked softly, "Are you asleep?" "I'm feeling a little tired," Arissa yawned. The children had bid her good night after their showers and retired to their respective rooms. Now left alone, she found herself bored and inclined to go to bed. "Do you want to eat paella?" Benjamin asked, worried that she might get hungry in the middle of the night. Arissa hesitated for a moment, then asked, "Did you make that?" "No, it's Edwin's seafood paella," Benjamin told her. Sean chimed in, "There's barbecued food too." Benjamin glared at him. Arissa heard him clearly. "I'm hungry, can you get me some? And some barbecued food too." Benjamin responded in the affirmative before ending the call. He then rose from his seat and proceeded to exit the study. As he walked past Sean, the latter promptly sidestepped to evade Benjamin's penetrating gaze, offering an awkward chuckle in the process. Arissa loves barbecued food, and it's okay to indulge in it occasionally. As long as it's not food that's harmful to pregnant women, she can eat whatever she likes. Maintaining a cheerful mood is of utmost importance. As Benjamin approached the restaurant, Ethan, Jack, and Bradley were all seated there, feasting heartily. Upon seeing him, they hurriedly waved him over. "Mr. Graham, enjoy the food." Benjamin waved his hand. He proceeded to fetch a plate, serving a portion of paella for Arissa before also selecting some barbecued items for her. "Is this for Mrs. Graham, Mr. Graham?" Edwin deduced from Benjamin's demeanor that the food was likely intended for Orissa. He approached to lend a hand in carrying some of the dishes. Yes, Benjamin responded, carrying the food meant for one person upstairs. Aren't Gavin and the others eating? Sean glanced at them as he sat down at the dining table. Ethan had gone to summon the children earlier. The children have gone to bed. Ethan chuckled. He had gone upstairs to get the children only to find that they were already asleep. That was fast, Sean exclaimed in surprise. They must be quite weary. Is there anything else you'd like to have? I'll start preparing it immediately, Edwin offered, with the intention of ensuring everything was ready before he proceeded to tidy up the kitchen. That should be enough. Sean looked at the delicious food on the table, then glanced at Ethan and the others. Jack and Bradley also nodded in agreement. There was no need for Edwin to prepare anything else. These are enough. I'll go clean up the kitchen then, Edwin said with a laugh. Edwin, come sit with us and have something to eat. We'll help you clean up later. Ethan beckoned Edwin. He even stood up to get some beer. During dinner, they still hadn't had their fill. Edwin, come have a drink with us. Sean, Jack, and Bradley beckoned. The latter even stood up to pull Edwin to the table. Edwin was unable to decline their warm hospitality. He sat down to drink with them. I'll just have one drink. I have to get up at 4 in the morning tomorrow to make stew for Mrs. Graham. What stew are you making that requires you to begin so early? They chatted and ate happily. Chapter 1369. Benjamin helped Orissa sit up and placed 2 pillows behind her. Is this comfortable? She nodded, leaned against the head of the bed, and glanced at the late-night snack he had brought over. Hand it to me. It smells so good. Even though I wasn't hungry, now I'm tempted to eat. With a light chuckle, he sat by the bed, brought over the paella, and began to feed her with a spoon. I'll do it myself. Orissa reached out to take it, but Benjamin dodged her. Open up. He coaxed her gently as he brought the food to her mouth. She smiled and took a bite, mumbling, "Don't you have anything else to do?" He glimpsed at her and answered softly, "I'll get back to work after you finish your meal." Orissa gazed at him. Sean and the others are downstairs, right? Why don't you go down and eat with them instead? I'm not hungry. Don't worry about them. Benjamin continued to feed her. Noticing a grain of rice stuck to the corner of her mouth, he reached out and wiped it off. She looked at him with a grin and leaned in a bit closer. Then, will you eat with me? I'm not hungry. You go ahead and eat. He handed her the barbecue. She took it, alternating between bites of paella and the barbecue, thoroughly enjoying herself. It would be nice to have a drink. Orissa sighed. Benjamin only brought up some late-night snacks but didn't bring any juice or milk. Shall I make you a juice? He asked, his voice full of affection as he gazed at her smilingly. Get me a yogurt then. She didn't want to trouble him too much, so she chose something convenient. Let me check if we still have any at room temperature. He handed her the paella, then stood up to go downstairs and get the yogurt. As there was no more room temperature yogurt and only refrigerated ones left, he still made her fruit juice instead. Sean saw it and quickly shouted, "Benjamin, make some more. We want to drink, too." Benjamin didn't respond to the man, and it was unclear whether he had heard or not. Sean and Ethan exchanged glances and chuckled. In a low voice, the former said, "Looks like he isn't going to make us juice. Mr. Graham is so busy. If you want a glass, I can make it for you, Mr. Bailey," Edwin said to Sean. Sean sighed. "No need. It's not like I can't make it myself either. I just want a glass made by Benjamin. Isn't he already making it himself now? It's only a matter of squeezing a few more fruits. It won't take much extra time." He glimpsed toward the kitchen again and called out once more, but unfortunately, Benjamin still ignored him. After a while, the latter came out holding a glass of juice. As he passed by the dining table, he remarked, "If you want one, get a glass yourself." Sean's eyes lit up. "Thanks, Benjamin. Benjamin is actually quite nice to me." In high spirits, Sean went in to pour himself a glass and came back out. Jack, Ethan, and the others teased him a bit. "Mr. Bailey, is there any left? Why didn't you pour us a glass too?" Yes, yes, everyone gets a share. If you want one, pour it yourself. Sean beamed proudly, took a seat, and happily sipped on the fruit juice, savoring every drop. Eating barbecue and drinking fruit juice is simply too enjoyable. Ethan, Jack, and Bradley let out a breath and had no choice but to pour the juice themselves. They even poured a glass for Edwin, too. When Benjamin arrived upstairs, Orissa had already finished her paella, leaving only a bit of barbecue. "Is there no more yogurt?" she asked him, noticing the juice. "There's some in the fridge, but it's not good to eat cold food late at night. Have some juice instead." He brought it to her lips, and she took a few sips. It was her favorite fruit. The man sat to one side and waited until she finished eating before beginning. "To clean up, I'll take the dishes away. You should sit for a while before sleeping," he reminded her before leaving the bedroom. From behind him, Orissa called out, "While you're at it, go check on the kids and make sure they're tucked in properly." "All right." Benjamin gently closed the door, then went over to check on the kids. Chapter 1370. Benjamin went to the children's room and saw that Jesse and Jasper had kicked off their quilts. He put down the dishes in his hand to tuck the children in properly. At that moment, Oliver suddenly sat up, rubbing his eyes groggily. "Daddy," he tilted his head and looked toward Benjamin. That soft, sweet voice totally melted Benjamin's heart. A light smile played on his lips as he gently ruffled the little one's hair. "Why aren't you sleeping? Could this kiddo be dreaming? I need to pee." With his eyes half closed, Oliver crawled out of bed without wearing his glasses, causing Tim and Zachary to roll over when he crawled over them. "I'll carry you there." Benjamin reached out and picked up the little one, who nestled on his shoulder and was dozing off. Benjamin felt his heart soften. He patted the little one's head tenderly and carried Oliver to the bathroom. After his son had finished peeing, Benjamin carried the boy back to the bedroom. Oliver had already fallen asleep on Benjamin's shoulder again. Benjamin's heart melted once again when he saw his son's adorable little face. He bent over, carefully laid down Oliver, and pulled up the quilt to tuck the children in. A fond smile curved up at the corner of his mouth at the sight of the 6 adorable kids sound asleep in their beds. He stood by the beds and watched them for a while before picking up the dishes to leave the children's bedroom. Downstairs, Sean and the others were still enjoying some drinks and late-night snacks. Seeing Benjamin coming down, they all enthusiastically invited him over for a drink. "You guys go ahead, I'm busy." Benjamin turned and headed for his study. After Sean and the others had been eating and drinking for a while, Ethan started to feel uncomfortable. After all, his boss was still working overtime, yet here he was, indulging in delicious food and drinks. Feeling truly sorry, he was the first to call it a night. "I'm not drinking anymore. I still have work to do. You guys carry on." Ethan ran off. "Is that necessary?" Sean was nonplussed. He resumed persuading Jack and Bradley to drink with him. Jack and Bradley felt fine, and they even had a satisfying meal together with Sean. However, none of them dared to make much noise. After finishing his work late into the night, Benjamin came out to find Sean, Jack, and Bradley sprawled out asleep on the living room couch. Frowning, he walked over and gave Sean a nudge with his foot. Sean woke up with a start, reeking of alcohol. Upon seeing Benjamin, he broke into a goofy grin. "Hey, Benjamin." A vein on Benjamin's forehead throbbed a few times as he looked down at Sean, speaking in a cold voice. "Go back to the room to sleep." He took a step back, turned his head, and glared at Jack and Bradley. "Take these two away." Startled, Sean jolted awake and hurriedly responded, "Roger that." He sat up and went over to give Jack and Bradley a kick to wake them up as Benjamin did earlier. Together, they supported each other as they made their way back to the guest room to rest. Benjamin made his way upstairs, first stopping by the children's room for a quick peek. Seeing the kids sound asleep, he then turned around and headed back to his bedroom. Upon entering the room, he saw Orissa sitting on the bed, her eyes dazed and unfocused. She was rubbing her eyes, her actions mirroring those of Oliver. "So cute and lovable," Benjamin chuckled lightly. The children's cuteness must have been inherited from her. He walked over, bent down to get closer to her at eye level, and stared at her. What are you doing? Orissa's lips pursed slightly when he suddenly came into her view. She replied in a soft, sweet voice, I need to use the bathroom. With a laugh, Benjamin affectionately ruffled her hair, before finally lifting her in his arms. Orissa was feeling sleepy. Leaning against him, she caught a whiff of that familiar scent, and before she knew it, she unknowingly dozed off again. Her instinct to stay awake to deal with the call of nature and the allure of sleep left her torn. It was hard for her to tell whether she was awake or still in a dream. Benjamin, on the other hand, was well aware of reality. Seeing her motionless, he had no choice but to wake her up. Honey,